It should have happened. Let's put it this way.
I think so.
It should be this way. How did it happen?
Um,
And let me tell you what I think about The Sopranos, and
okay.
you're the same. That is the most iconic series ever. And the reason I mean, there's been great ones afterwards, Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, but it all started with The Sopranos.
Yeah.
All these great series that came were modeled after that because it was so successful. And I think people say it was the best ever. And it's funny, I only watched the first season, and I kind of lost interest in it.
The Sopranos?
Yeah, Sopranos,
Wow.
because I'm saying, some of it's real, some of it's not. And then I went back and started watching it again. I said, what was I missing? Everybody was brilliant in that, including yourself. I mean,
Thank you.
everybody. I really mean it. But how did you get involved in the role?
I originally read for the pilot, and when I went in to read for it, I had no clue that it was a show about Italians. I really thought it was a singer about a show. I really thought it was a show about singers.
Really?
Sopranos.
Soprano, yeah.
They didn't give me a script, and I was going in to just read for Michael's girlfriend, and it wasn't even like a series regular role. It was just what we call a day player.
Mm-hmm.
So David didn't think I was Italian enough. I remember going to that audition and seeing
Not
it.
Italian enough?
No, I had my hair pulled in a ponytail, tight back, no makeup. Back in those days, they tell you, when you're an actor, clean slate, no characteristics that define you. And they even wanted me to change my last name. I laugh about this woke stuff right now in the industry. They don't have no idea what it was like just to be Italian back then. It meant you were dumb. If you had an O at the end of your name, you were always going to be stereotyped to playing one thing and one thing only. You're not going to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that. You can only play girls that talk like this, and that's it. And you got to be dumb. And that was it. So I had managers that kept trying to get me to change my name until that fateful day when I read on The Sopranos. It's funny, I had a manager who told me that I had the worst voice she'd ever heard and that I should go take voice lessons. And a lot of actors take voice classes to make their voices better, or speech to get rid of an accent or something. And I said, oh, okay, I'll get rid of the little bit of New York I have left and I'll work on my voice. I know it's raspy. She's like, no, you need opera classes. And I said, what are you talking about, opera classes? She was very exaggerated. And she goes, yeah, you should take opera classes and that'll break through so that your voice can be more cohesive. And I was like, all right, go f yourself. This is insane. And fast forward to 2 weeks later, I would get the part on The Sopranos. So my answer to that was like,
and it was an extended.
Who's singing now, bitch? Because this is called The Sopranos. This was the opera. What are you, a psychic? You're not even an asshole who is telling me what I should do. You're actually a psychic. I'm on a show called The Sopranos now. It was one line, and it wasn't Michael's girlfriend. I read for the Russian. I read for every little tiny role because he liked me because I was Italian.
Did you read for Chase?
Yeah, I read for David. And I don't know if have you seen the documentary?
Bits and pieces. The recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah, bits and pieces. I didn't like the fact that they made Gandolfini look like a beast.
Yes.
Right?
I love you for saying that because I'll shit all over HBO right now. That's right. I'll shit all over you. I don't care if you gave me my life.
It was like the opposite of everything you've heard about him
Yes.
from everybody. I mean, I know people that knew him that said he was just the nicest guy. And
yes.
I mean, I didn't know much about his work ethic, but boy, he did a tremendous job. So it couldn't have been that bad on the set.
Yeah, he was incredible. And that documentary destroyed his character. And but I knew that if I talked about it in public, more people would even want to go watch it. So I didn't want to promote it because I didn't want to give them anything, because the reason they treated him in that way was to make more money. Yeah. And it's like, he was already your cash cow. Exactly. How about a little justice for, and for some, like, rest in peace. Like, this man's rolling over in his grave because you're doing the very thing that he protested against. And he was always very vocal about people being taken advantage of. And they took advantage of him in his death with that sort of sensational portrayal of his life, which was not even not even close to who he was. They gave you who he was too. It's like, you know how they do, even in
Yeah.
our government, give you just enough truth
Mm-hmm.
and then throw all this bullshit in there in between. And that's what they did with him. And they had an opportunity to write him a love song, and they didn't. And I was mortified by that. I really was shocked by it. But you have all these new young people that are not, it's like this generation of people creeping in that just weren't raised with any integrity. I mean, we can sit here and say that mafiosos have more freaking integrity than the way these kids are being raised
Oh,
now.
it's all in that book. Absolutely.
I
The
want.
Mafia
I'm
Democracy.
taking one of these
You'll have a copy.
today.
You'll leave with a copy. David could have steered that in a different way,
Oh.
couldn't he? And he didn't.
You know, I let them in my house to shoot that.
Mhm.
They set up, it was 9 hours in my house or something. And they, you know, they were like, you can, you know, everybody's waiving their fees
Mhm.
to do this. And I was like, of course, I want to be a part of this. You know, he gave me my life. I love David, you know. I agree with you. He could, I'll never backtalk David because he's my godfather
Mhm.
in my way. But at the same time, I did question it after I saw it and thought to myself, I remember hearing someone say that he didn't like it. But at the same time, he's on record saying certain things in it. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it'll
Mhm.
be the first time I say they should. I guess I'm going to say it. Fuck it. When Alex Gibney asks him, Gibney's the documentarian, who's an incredible documentarian. He's made great documentaries, and I super respect him. I don't know if HBO was really guiding them in a certain direction and demanded certain things. Networks do tend to do that.
Mhm.
HBO had no hand in The Sopranos. They never doctored David's work
They
or
just let
told
him
him
go.
what to do. It was the first of its kind, like we were
Mhm.
saying, and how dare they? It was don't mess with something that works, and it was working out of the gate without
Yeah.
anybody tampering with it. Although I'm sure there'd be a few people that pop up and say, you know, I gave notes and I did this,
Mhm.
you know. That was David's show, 100% David's show. So yeah, I kind of thought that maybe he could have had a little bit of a say in how that went. But when they asked him, "Were you surprised that Jim died?" and there wasn't even hesitation, it was just this quick no. It was so like, it spoke too many words. It wasn't even like, what does he mean? Like the end of The Sopranos. Is it a mystery when he answers no that abruptly the way he ended and cut to
Mhm.
black on The Sopranos?
Which, by
Like
the way, I hated. I hated
with
that
the cut to
ending.
black?
Yeah, I didn't
Oh,
like
see,
it.
I liked it.
You liked
You
it?
didn't like it? Why?
No. I think I like things wrapped up and done. I
Oh,
don't.
okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
just my personality. I
But
like.
you know that the next morning there would have been, it's like this Trump administration, right? He gets in, everyone's pumped, and now he's making his picks and everyone's pissed.
Mhm.
Now they think he might be deep state. Now, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Mhm.
so if he would have killed Tony Soprano, you would have had half the world furious. If he would have survived him, if he would have survived, they would have been like, that's a cop out too. So, in my opinion, and this is not got nothing to do with David, because I think David always says he dies. I think that might be what David has said.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
actually.
he did say that.
But the water cooler talk, because the show was so known for the water cooler talk. It was the
Right.
first of its kind. What better water cooler moment to end on the biggest moment in front of a water cooler where everyone's like, I thought my TV went out. Because I thought my TV went out. And I was on the freaking show and I was floored. I called everyone and I was like, what just happened? What's going on? Tell me what happened because my TV just glitched out. And my girlfriend was like, no, dude, that's the
The
ending.
end.
And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it was a great abstract painting.
Well, I guess if you put your producer's hat on, you say, yeah, you're right. Because now, what's the talk? What happened? I mean, that's the only talk you have. Is he dead? Is he alive? And that's
Yeah.
that.
It was like when Adriana died too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
How did
sorry.
you feel about becoming an informant? Your role? Did it matter? Or...
So funny. You know, I think about my life now. I feel like I've been an informant for the past 2 years. You know, I feel like I've been this rat. just ratting out the government all day long about bullshit to anybody that will listen that is not already on board with us. You know, like my target audience was the 50-year-old liberal woman. So being a rat on The Sopranos, at first, I mean, there was no, it was so gradual. I'm going to make parallels to the government all day and to the last 3 years all day. It all happened very gradually. Like I didn't see it really coming. It just was unfolding.
I was going to say, did they see it coming? Was this something that was well in advance?
Yeah, and I didn't know it. I only knew when I was about to die.
Really?
Yeah, well, I went and asked David.
Well, you were a reluctant informant the whole time. You didn't.
She never gave him anything.
Yeah.
She actually never gave up any information. She also didn't know that much. But, you know, you always ask yourself, like, what would I do in that situation? As an actor, I would ask myself that. And I would have gone to Tony and to Christopher, and I would have said, this is what they are making me do. Let's make the most of it and fuck with them.
Yeah.
Let's steer them into the most bizarre places. But then it turns into like the Naked Gun, you know.
Dangerous game, but yeah.
But I mean, TV, but it wouldn't have been as effective.
No.
And people loved her so much.
When did they tell you were going to get killed? Did you know that in advance? Because then that's the end of your role.
Well, it was a strange one. It wasn't the same for me as it was for other actors on the show. They actually, and I don't mean in terms of like respect or, if anything, the men got handled with more excitement over their deaths. Like they got taken out for dinner and it was like a whole thing.
Right.
Like they got to sit down in David's office. I got nothing, which was kind of funny, but I also understood it because I'm like, you know, I'm a girl and I'm like, whatever. I went to him and said, am I going to make it? It looks like I might not. And I said, I'm only asking you because I want to direct a movie because I was a film student. I wasn't really an actor. I said, I want to direct this movie and I just want to know how long our hiatus is going to be because we took big hiatuses between seasons. And if you are even going to have me back, like, what do you think is going to happen? And he sits me down on the curb because we were shooting the episode where I got stuck in the car with Tony Soprano and I have a neck brace. And they were shooting, is there a hospital scene? There might have been a hospital scene. They shot it in a house because we were shooting outdoors.
Right.
The driving stuff, and then we shot the hospital scene in someone's house, and we made it look like a hospital in there. And so we were at that house, and he sat me down and told me, we're going to shoot it 2 ways. He said, we're going to shoot it where he kills you, or someone kills you, where you die, and then we're going to shoot it where you don't die. And we're not going to tell anybody what the ending is, not even you,
I was going to say,
until it airs. Wow. And I was like, why? He's like, well, and I knew why. The confidentiality on set was out of control.
Really?
And everybody had to sign confidentiality agreements every day. It was like a real omerta there, you know, because everybody wanted to sell that information, to get thousands and thousands of dollars just to leak. And that would have been the biggest leak, I guess, for them at that time on the show. So they shot it 2 ways. They shot it.
So you actually didn't know until it aired, or you a little bit before?
I took a job. I took another job, and then David found out that I took the other job, and then that was a big drama. He was very upset with me because my agency or somebody leaked it, and then I had to go and do press convincing people that there was no way I took that job because it was just a bad look. It would have been anticlimactic for the show. But even more anticlimactic would have been, there is this scene in that episode where Christopher tells Tony in the laundry room where there's no wire, where Tony always thinks there's no wire, tells him that I was a rat. And Tony says, I'll handle it. And then the next scene is him calling me. So you know I'm dead at that point. You know that there's watching me drive to my death would have been meaningless. Everybody would have been like, okay, and moving on. And I remember me and Stevie and Michael, I went to everybody and I was like, I think that they need to get rid of this scene. I was like, this is really not doing this death like justice. This is a big death, you know? And they all agreed, and we went and talked to the writers. And then when the show aired, the scene was gone.
Mm.
So I don't know if it was because of us or because, you know, they realized it themselves that it was not exciting. But that scene would end up in the next season as a flashback.
Mm.
And then both scenes of my death would be in my death scene. Sorry, guys, this is trivia. Just a little soprano trivia for the day. Hold on, let me drink some water since all I do is talk like a bunch of chiacchierones, you and me.
Chiacchierones. But you know what? Everybody's so interested in the Sopranos. Every once in a while, I'll review an episode and people they're all over it.
It has a new life.
It'll never end, yeah.
In the pandemic, it was up 250%.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And now I have kids coming up to me. I have all these young kids coming and asking for pictures, and I'm like, what? And it used to be that parents would send their kids over to get a picture. But no, now it's the kids are obsessed with it.
So they're all watching it.
Yeah, it's a cult phenomenon.
Crazy.
No.
Yeah, but listen, it's going to go on forever. And it'll never change with that show.
I know.
Never.
It's cool. I'm very happy that I was a part of it. But the pilot, I didn't play the same character. I never finished that. I told you that I came back and did it later on, another audition for them another time, because I couldn't get my line out in the pilot either.
Mm.
When we shot the pilot, I was so nervous that Lorraine Bracco was in the scene with me. He offered me some role as like the hostess in a restaurant who was nondescript, looks like she's from Connecticut, because that's how I had my hair when I met him, was just slicked back in a ponytail, and I just turned them away. That I'm just like mistreating the Italians, you know.
My one Soprano story, I get out of prison. I'm on parole. I had violated my parole once, so I get out, and this was 95, 96. And a good friend of mine, Howard Baldwin, big producer, he used to own the Pittsburgh Penguins, a hockey team. He says, come, he was on Universal Lot. He's making some movies. He's come and read some scripts for me. Maybe we'll develop a mob show. I want you to stay out of trouble. I don't want you to get violated again. Just come and sit in the studio. We're right next to Steven Spielberg's bungalow, whatever you call it. So I'm there. And my agent at the time, Jack Gilardi, calls me up, agent friend. And he says, there's a guy, a producer by the name of David Chase, and he's creating this mob, show, and he's doing it for Fox. And he wants to talk to you about being a consultant on the project. I said, okay, what do you think, Jack? Yeah, might get it done or whatever. So I'm thinking about it. I'm on parole. I talked to Howard, and he said, oh, Michael, come on. I've got you here, and I don't think it's a good thing for you to do. So I passed on it. I didn't do it. I said, no, I can't do it. And then I went back, and I said, now, why did he call me? There's a lot of guys out there, right? But I had a reputation. And then when I saw the role of Tony's mother, I said, he must have heard some audio tapes about my mother and dad, because our house was bugged. And my mother she was a strong woman, and she was kind of like that character.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, kind of like that. And I'm saying, wow, I wonder if he may have heard some of those tapes in his research, and maybe he wanted to get information to me. I was thinking about that. But then I heard David, that was like his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
With that. But I'm telling you, that's how smart I was. I passed on it.
Yeah. I don't
Probably
know
could
who
have been a
did that.
consultant.
I wonder who was doing that. I don't remember.
I don't know who it was.
I remember there was a big thing. Wise guys don't wear shorts. Why do you have them wearing shorts?
My father wore shorts.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
my
I
dad
wore
didn't really wear them either.
My
that
father
much.
wore shorts with sandals and black socks up to here. And I'm not kidding. And it was like, Dad, you really going to
Oh
go
my God,
around my friends like that? He was, yeah.